Hello and welcome. My name is Jevgenij Rusakov and you're watching your favorite TVP World program, Interview from Vilnius. The economic consequences of the war are becoming increasingly visible inside Russia. Alongside a growing fuel crisis, recent strikes on Wildberries warehouses have raised new questions about the vulnerability of businesses, supply chains, and everyday life. What do these developments reveal about the resilience of the Russian economy, and could they reshape relations between businesses and the state? To discuss this, we are joined by Jekaterina Rojaka, Lithuanian MP and economist. Jekaterina, glad to see you in our studio. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, let's start with the recent meeting between the presidents of Russia and Kazakhstan, during which President Tokayev called on Putin to freeze the Russian-Ukrainian war. In your opinion, what do Tokayev's remarks tell us about Russia's relationship with what many consider its closest allies?
Let's agree that Tokayev is a very experienced diplomat, and it's not the first time that he publicly opposes Putin. Let's start for the Republic Sociology, for instance. They have never recognized the occupied republic or the occupied lands. And another thing is when the Putin was telling that Kazakhstan is Russian-speaking territory, he started the forum and he started the official meeting speaking Kazakh language. So it was very, very clear that Kazakhstan doesn't want to trade and not to be independent. They want to show their sovereignty despite their very close relationship with Russia. Because we should also admit that Kazakhstan, well, we cannot choose the neighbors.
Sure.
And geographically,
sometimes,
it's just
unfortunately,
impossible.
but yeah.
Yeah. And Kazakhstan also have to be very maneuvering between their political views and economic interests.
That's
and
right.
Economic interests are very clear. It's 28 billion of dollars per year in trading with Russia. And currently now, with the Russia facing the fuel problems, well, Kazakhstan is the country that exports oil products to Russia. So the ties are very, very clear. Nonetheless, I think that this stand-up was very politically significant because Tokayev also mentioned several times that he had received numerous signals from European countries and also outside Europe regarding the war and regarding...
Most likely China.
Absolutely, yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Maybe also United States, because currently, well, there is a kind of diplomatical gap between their larger countries. Sure. and Russia. So I believe that there is overall similar thinking about the current status, especially when Russia is so harshly attacked. But again, I think the important thing is that, well, Kazakhstan is not breaking up with Russia, but clearly shows the signal that they are not, their economic patience is coming to an end.
That's interesting. That's interesting because this is the next thing I wanted to discuss with you. So, do you think Tokayev's remarks reflect growing concern amongst Russia's partners about the economic consequences of war?
I believe so. Yes, I think. Well, you cannot choose the partners, but at the same you cannot choose the neighbors. But at the same time, the economic patience is limited, and the major question is who is paying for the war.
As an economist, explain to me, please, what do you mean by saying economic patience?
Well, yeah, if we take a Kazakhstan example, for instance, this is the country that also depends on investments a lot, on relationship with other economic partners, and they also clearly stated that they are not getting to support Russia against the sanctions. Well, we can dispute on the result of that, but nonetheless, it was very openly said to European Union and outside the world. So whether the sanctions are getting pressed more and more, that means that Kazakhstan investments is drying up. It also means that everything is getting more complicated. And, you know, the capital is like water. It flows out through the uncertainty. So I think that the main message was that it's not the economically very difficult currently, but in the long range, well, how many years it would take, and of course the overall impact in long term on the economies of the partner countries is getting higher, and they just don't want to pay for that.
Okay, so strikes on Wildberries warehouses. What is your overall assessment on these strikes?
Well, definitely, if we take economic-wise, it's nothing that the Russian economy couldn't go through. But when we take in advantage just some accidental events, but we are talking about war, and Putin also have acknowledged that the overall stress on the economy is getting higher, and that means, well, whether it is force majeure or whether it is a war accident, well, the people and the businesses would be hurt. And we are not talking about some kind of marginal player here. The Wildberries, or Russian Amazon as it is called very often, it's a huge business that comprise more than half of the all online sales.
That's
about
52%.
That's
a very...
It's hundreds of thousands of small businesses, and with very urgent changes in the contract in Wildberries from the Wildberries side in June. That
just before those strikes.
Just before the strikes, that also creates, you know, kind of feeling that whether they were predicting the strikes or they knew that the strikes are coming, but all the costs are laid on the shoulders of the small businesses. And well, of course, the small businesses. Well, it's rarely to think that, and rarely to expect that small businesses would openly protest, especially in the economy,
in the existing situation,
in the economy of Russia.
Okay. Taken together with the current fuel crisis, how significant are these strikes for the Russian economy?
Well, I think it's just one piece of a story because, well, the fuel shortages and the strikes on oil refineries, it's not only the oil, but it's also the supply chain. And Wildberries is a very important part of the overall supply chain. And we see that it's getting into the distantly to the center and even far beyond the active war zone. And that means that there is no security at all. And for many businesses, and for Wildberries itself, of course, now roughly about 10% is hurt of the Wildberries.
Is that
businesses.
A lot?
It is quite a lot, because when they think of rearranging and what it takes for Wildberries to reopen, well, it's at least $1 billion of USD just in repairing, and not
something enormous.
It is still questionable whether they're gonna do this repairing, because it's always under the uncertainty and could be under attack again. So there might be some repairing, but not everything will be repaired. So rearranging, just you can imagine logistically to rearrange all the products from seven, eight pieces to the more distant
which
places.
Are also not safe, to be honest.
It's not safe first. It's more costly. Fuel, shortages are there. So the transportation will be even harder and more expensive. And that means everything will cost more.
Okay, Jekaterina, well, you've already said that, but I'd like to maybe expand on this. So how do the attacks on Wildberries warehouses affect the lives of ordinary people from an economic perspective? You've already said higher prices, something else. gas, supply chains, what else?
Yeah, from their pocket directly, it's more uncertainty. Well, definitely there is also life tokens there. So there were people who were hurt and not just individual accidents there. So people are feeling that the war came to their houses, yeah,
That's right.
and it comes to their houses, and now Russia speaks about the war status after the elections. So it's getting more and more pressure all over. And of course, you know, regarding the small businesses, well, many of them already claim that this is a financial ruin. And we're talking about hundreds of thousands of the small businesses.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
And insurance company, definitely, they want to chip in. They don't want to chip in because it's very high price. It's high price, and it's still questionable. Well, we've heard that Wildberries, to some extent, might be compensating, but we also hear the small businesses claiming that it is far from what they have been hurt economically. And, well, the state itself doesn't seem to be supportive at all.
Okay, and here's my questions. How are businesses likely to react if they see that the state is unable to protect them? And how does that affect trust between businesses and the authorities?
Well, I believe that there is always kind of contract between the state and the businesses, right? The businesses pay taxes, and for that they expect that, well, the state will support them, at least the way produce and provide the economic environment that is flexible enough for businesses to grow, and also economic security. But what we see now, the contract is in breach, and if the state doesn't apply with any kind of support for businesses, that could be already the question: why should we still pay taxes, and should we still develop business here? And well, I think that the large businesses, to extent, they have more freedom, of course. The smaller businessmen, for them, it is a much higher problem. So I think that breach of the contract is a very serious question. But again, I don't think that we will see the revolution from the business.
You think so?
I don't think. Because, well, it's very difficult to expect that all the small businesses will rise. And that would create this critical turnover point. But it accumulates, and slowly but certainly.
Okay. As an economist, I do understand that some economic forecasts are, you know, I say uncertain thing, but still, what are your prognosis for the upcoming situation?
Well, I believe
Briefly.
that, yeah, well, the strikes will continue because there were very clear several targets. First, to disrupt the supply chain. Second, to bring this war closer to the people. And I think that they have done that very successfully. And, well, I think that the more sectors will be feeling this pressure, because we're not talking not only about the transportation, not about the fuel, we're talking about the whole supply chain, plus the agriculture sector, which is first to be hit.
Sure.
And, well, the harvest is coming already now, and we will see the results on the budget. But I always suggest, you know, to look not on their, what does the state and the leaders are talking publicly, but what they do. And I believe that these revealed intentions are showed through the budget. Now, the largest part of the budget is going to the war, and that's unfortunately is still the priority. The rest, you know, between the battle between the butter, you know, that is coming to the consumers, sure, and the guns. So I believe that the Kremlin will not fall for the ruined businesses. It still have their very clear strategy to go further for as much as it takes.
Unfortunately so. Jekaterina, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you coming to our studio, and I really hope to see you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to remind our viewers that our guest for today was Jekaterina Rojaka, Lithuanian MP and economist. You're watching TVP World. Stay with us.